Caitlin Clark is gone. The room felt it before the words even landed. 1 second, there was laughter, music, sneakers squeaking on tile, the easy noise of a team that just wants to breathe after a long stretch. The next second, silence. Heads turned together like a crowd watching a last-second shot. Sophie Cunningham stepped forward first with that unshakable game face she wears like armor. But there was something trembling under it tonight. Something human, something heavy. And right beside her, Lexi Hull reached for the mic. Steady but soft, the way a teammate does when the truth is going to hurt no matter how you say it. They didn't come to talk tactics. They didn't come to talk matchups. They came to say the one thing nobody wanted to hear. Caitlin Clark is stepping away from the court for now. Not for a trade, not for a feud, not for politics or narratives or clicks. A personal matter, no details, no timeline, no questions. You could hear the air conditioner in that moment. That's how quiet it was. A few players kept their eyes fixed on the ground like the floor might explain something. Others stared at the same spot on the wall, blinking hard, trying not to cry. The weight of it hit the chest first, then the mind. Because when your centerpiece leaves the board, every piece moves different. And this wasn't a rumor or a blind item or some source close to the situation. This was Sophie and Lexi, Caitlin's people, standing shoulder to shoulder, taking the heat so she didn't have to. Here's what made it even more real. Sophie didn't posture. She didn't swing. She didn't even let the room bait her into saying more than she should. She did what leaders do when the cameras are hungry and the truth needs protection. She drew a line and dared the noise to cross it. Then Lexi took that line and laid her voice across it like a coat in the rain. It's personal. That was it. That's the whole sentence. And that's what we're going to honor tonight. The second those words left Lexi's mouth, the internet did what the internet does. Clips of the announcement went everywhere at once. Fans paused lunch halfway to their lips. Timelines exploded. People slowed the video to half speed to study Sophie's mouth and swear they saw a lip tremble. Others replayed the exact moment Lexi said Caitlin's name, convinced they heard a catch in her voice. And in that noise, theories sprouted like weeds. A late-night story on a black screen? A look during warm-ups no one can quite define. A quiet after a win that didn't feel like relief. Every tiny thing that seemed like nothing before now looks like a breadcrumb. That is how we act when someone we care about steps away. We turn the past into a map and hope it leads us to peace. But let's talk about the two women who stood there and took the storm for their teammate. Sophie Cunningham has built a reputation as the first one to the scuffle, the one who will take a tech to send a message, the one who will bear the bruise so the star doesn't have to. She's the voice in the huddle that gets louder when everyone else is shrinking. She's the person who dives on the floor because that's where loyalty lives. If you've watched her this season, you've seen the pattern. Caitlin takes a hard bump, Sophie appears out of nowhere, chin up, chest forward, eyes saying, "Not today." And tonight, for the first time, the fight wasn't with another jersey. It was with a world that wants to know everything right now. Sophie's answer? No, not this time. Not about her. And Lexi Hull? If Sophie brings fire, Lexi brings gravity. She's the still water that lets you see your reflection. She isn't loud unless the moment demands it. She doesn't chase the lens. She trusts her game and her word. You can measure her season not just by the threes she's buried or the rotations she's read, but by the little glances that happen between plays. The kind teammates share when trust is rich and unspoken. If you've watched closely, you've seen it. Caitlin hits a deep shot. Lexi's already halfway to her with a grin that says, "I knew it." Hand up, eyes bright. The chemistry is real. The respect is real. So when she stepped up and said what had to be said, you could feel a thread snap in the room. It wasn't theater, it was family business handled in public with as much dignity as the world would allow. People will ask why. They already are. They will line up possible reasons like shoes by the door, mental exhaustion, family emergency, health, the weight of carrying a franchise, the cost of being the face of something bigger than yourself before you've even had time to put both feet under you. And all of that is fair to wonder about, but there's a difference between wondering and prying, between caring and demanding. This story tonight isn't an expose. It's a pause button on a life that's been stuck on fast forward since the day Caitlin touched the stage. So if we're going to look back for clues, let's do it with kindness. Think about the last few weeks. The way her post-game answers got shorter, not because she was rude, but because sometimes the words you need aren't the ones a microphone can hold. The way her smile, that big, easy thing we all learned to love, felt like it was working a little harder than usual. The way she took a deep breath before the tunnel after a narrow win, like the air weighed more than it should. And that small late-night story she posted, black screen, simple words, focus on what matters. People thought it was about the schedule. Maybe it was about something else. Maybe it was a note to herself. Maybe it was a goodbye to the noise. Basketball is a simple game made heavy by life. Shooters shoot, defenders defend, and even when you are the most watchable player in any building, you still have to carry the same invisible things the rest of us do. Tired bones, tight throats, the texts you meant to send, the call you missed because the bus left, the feeling that the next thing is always due and yesterday still isn't done. You go from the most electric college run any of us can remember to a league where everyone can play and everybody wants a piece of you. You go from a place where the ball found you like a promise to a place where it comes with a price. Opponents come harder. Officials don't always see what the fans see. Headlines frame you as the answer to every problem the sport has ever had. The schedule bites, and the body absorbs it. And yet, every night, you walk out, lace up, and give people a reason to stand. That is a gift. That is also a cost. So when the cost comes due, it makes sense that the people closest to you would help you pay it. That's what Sophie did tonight. That's what Lexi did. They guarded the lane, they sealed the paint, they boxed out the press, and they told the world to rebound with grace. Now let's talk basketball, because the game doesn't stop just because hearts are heavy. The Fever built a lot of their offensive rhythm around Caitlin's gravity. Her range pulls defenders to places the scouting report doesn't even want to write down. It changes angles. It gives the post extra time. It turns a handoff into a runway. It makes weak side cuts lethal. Without that gravity, everyone has to shift. The point isn't to become Caitlin. The point is to become more of yourself. So here's what happens next on the court. The ball will move earlier in the clock. Touches will equalize. Lexi's catch and shoot will matter double. First, because those looks will be a little more contested now, and second, because if she hits them, the floor opens and pressure drops. Kelsey Mitchell's handle becomes a pressure valve. Aaliyah Boston's reads from the high post become a compass. The second unit's energy stops being a spark and becomes a sustained voltage. There won't be the same logo threes to lift the roof. There will be grind. There will be defense. There will be rebounds you win by choice. And at practice, something else happens. The jokes come back, but softer. The music plays, but someone turns it down when the coach starts walking. People glance at the empty corner where Caitlin usually tapes her ankles or reties her hair before the shooting line. You start seeing little details that weren't there before. A wristband with 22 written in black marker, a huddle that holds a heartbeat longer, a quick prayer whispered into a palm before a tip. Teams become teams in moments like this, not because they want to suffer, but because they choose how to carry it. Outside the gym, business keeps trying to be business. Networks check their rundowns and rewrite teases. Beat writers text sources who won't text back. Fans keep their tickets and still show up, because that's what fans do when a team becomes more than entertainment. They become family. Some people will push and poke and speculate because mystery is uncomfortable. But the older way, the better way, is simple. When someone says personal, you take a step back and say, "We've got you." That's not being naive. That's being decent. I want to be clear about something before we go further. This channel is built on story, on analysis, on seeing what most folks miss and saying it out loud. It is not built on tearing people down or inventing villains to sell anger. There is a world of difference between asking good questions and making wild claims. Tonight, the questions are obvious. The answers are not ours to give. So we're going to honor the lines Sophie and Lexi drew. We'll talk about what this means for the Fever, for the league, for the way we treat our stars. We won't pretend to know what we don't. That's how grown-ups handle the game. Let's not forget who Caitlin Clark is in all this. She's a competitor who lifted two worlds at once, college and pro, by doing something honest every night, playing her tail off and sharing the joy of it. She showed kids that imagination is part of skill, that courage has a release point, that work is a kind of love. She filled arenas that used to echo. She made people who never watched a WNBA game before ask, "When's the next one?" And she did it without pretending to be perfect. She missed shots on national TV and told the truth about it in the presser. She took fouls that made all of us flinch and got up anyway. She played through chatter, through hot takes, through adults using her name to fight their culture wars. She kept her head down and her heart forward. If you're wondering what the dark truth in that title might really be, maybe it isn't some sinister scandal. Maybe the dark truth is simpler, older, harder. That excellence is heavy, that fame is loud, and that human beings, even the ones we treat like symbols, need room to be human. Maybe the dark truth is that we have turned 24 hours into an expectation instead of a day, and we forget to leave space for silence when silence is the most honest thing on the table. Sometimes the bravest play is to step off the floor and say, I need to handle my life right now. That's not quitting, that's wisdom, and wisdom is undefeated. The Fever are going to do what families do. They're going to keep a chair at the table. They'll keep the light on. They'll put together game plans that look different but feel the same in the way that matters. 5 people on a court, doing their jobs, covering for each other, believing that the next pass is the right one and the next stop is within reach. You'll see Lexi clap a little harder for a teammate's make. You'll see Sophie pull someone by the jersey into the right spot and then whisper something that isn't for us to hear. You'll see the bench lean forward together when the run starts, elbows on knees, eyes bright, because that's what hope looks like in a gym. And you'll see fans adjust too. The best ones already have. They're sending notes, not demands. They're posting memories, not theories. They're asking how to help. They're buying tickets anyway and cheering anyway and clapping for the players who got dressed and laced up and decided to give their night to the work. They're remembering that sports are at their best when they teach us to be better people. Loyal, patient, steady. That's old school, yes? It's also the only school that lasts. There will be rough nights. That's real. There will be a game where the shots don't fall, and everyone glances at the spot where Caitlin usually stands, waiting for that one deep bomb that flips the math. It won't come, and on those nights, you will learn things you can't learn any other way. You'll learn that defense is a decision, that rebounds are courage, that a 5-point win built on grit is worth the same as a 20-point win built on highlights. You'll learn that leadership isn't always the one with the most followers. Sometimes leadership is 2 women standing in a quiet room telling the truth with limits, because love has limits, and so does suffering. And then there will be nights where something unexpected happens. A bench player will catch fire and turn a quarter into theater. A role player will string together stops so pure you can feel the crowd rise before the whistle. A rookie will play beyond her years, and an old head will smile in the huddle like, I told you she had that. Those nights teach another lesson. The team was always bigger than one person, even when that one person is extraordinary. The point of a star is not to make you forget the sky, it's to make you look up and then notice there were 1,000 lights there all along. If you're still with me, if you're still listening instead of doom scrolling for a leak, then here's what I ask. Hold space. If you pray, pray. If you don't, send strength in whatever shape you know how. Tell the people in your life that they don't have to perform to be loved. Remember that every headline is a life with a family behind it. The world is loud enough. We don't have to add to the noise to prove we care. And Caitlin, if this finds you, know this. You've done more than fill seats and spike numbers. You have reminded people that imagination can live in a jump shot, that courage can look like stepping into a double team and still making the right read. That joy is a form of leadership. Take the time you need. The court has been here a long time and it'll wait. Basketball is patient if we let it be. Your spot isn't going anywhere. Your teammates already proved that tonight. Now to the league. This moment is a test, not of marketing, but of values. Stars bring money, yes. They also reveal character. Protecting players can't just be a hashtag. It has to be policy, culture, whistle, tech, fines, suspension. When it's needed. It has to be vets teaching rookies how to carry weight without losing themselves. It has to be front offices that check in on people, not just numbers. It has to be officials who swallow pride and find consistency. It has to be media that asks smart questions and knows when to back up. The W has grown because the game is good and the people are better. Keep it that way. Choose the right thing when it's hard. Let me tell you a small story. Years ago, an old coach told me that teams aren't built in the wins. They're revealed by them, but they're built in the losses, in the injuries, in the late nights where you can't find your jumper and you still have to defend the next possession like it's the last. They're built when someone you love needs you to be quiet and show up anyway. That's where this Fever group is tonight. They'll build in the quiet, they'll find what they didn't know they had, and when she comes back, whenever that is, they'll be able to hand it to her like a gift. We kept this warm for you. There's a reason the old ways endure. Respect, privacy, loyalty. Those words aren't corny. They're the bones of anything that lasts longer than a news cycle. When you strip away the hot takes and the trending tags, all that's left is one person who needed to step away and the people who stood between her and the world so she could. That is strength. That is tradition. That is the right thing done the right way. To those who feel disappointed tonight because they wanted a game and got a lesson instead, I get it. We come to sports to forget our stuff for a couple hours. We come to feel part of something clean and simple. This story is not clean or simple, but if you've ever loved a team, you already know how to do this. You know how to say, "We'll be here." You know how to cheer for the ones who suit up and hold space for the ones who can't. You know how to wait without demanding. You know how to hurt together and still lace them up on Tuesday. That's what makes fans family. What happens next? The Fever will play. The schedule won't feel sorry. The league will adjust storylines and hope for good news. And somewhere off camera, a young woman will work on her life. She'll talk to people who know her better than any of us do. She'll make choices none of us gets to make for her. She'll rest. She'll heal. She'll figure out what matters most and in what order. And when she's ready, if she chooses to, she'll walk back in. The first time she checks in at the scorer's table again, the gym will shake like a held breath finally released. She will smile, not for us, but for herself, and the ball will come to her like it always has. The first shot might be short, it might be pure. Either way, it will mean more than 3 points ever could. Until that day, this is how we carry it. We keep telling the truth we have. That Caitlin Clark is stepping away for personal reasons, that Sophie and Lexi did right by her tonight, that the team is responding with heart, that the fans are answering with love, and that the rest is not our business. We don't dress up guesses as facts. We don't call rumors reports. We don't turn off our empathy to feed our curiosity. We do the older, quieter thing. We stand by. Before I close, I want to thank Sophie and Lexi by name for how they carried themselves. It is not easy to stand in the doorway between a person and the public and tell the crowd to be patient. People will question your motives. They'll fish for slips. They'll try to make you the story. You didn't let them. You showed a generation of young athletes what leadership looks like when the cameras aren't friendly. You told the truth and you set a boundary. That's grown-up work. That's the work. And to the rest of the Fever, this is where identity is forged. It will not always be pretty. Beauty doesn't win games by itself anyway. Edge wins. Consistency wins. Trust wins. Keep throwing the extra pass. Keep tagging rollers. Keep talking on defense until your throat is raw. Keep noticing the small things. A teammate's head dropping after a turnover, and picking it up with a tap, a word, a quick joke. Keep your routines. Keep your faith. Keep her number close, not as a weight, but as a reminder that you're playing for more than a box score. To the league offices, again, because it bears repeating. Model the standard. Protect the players, make the game safer physically, and saner emotionally. Invest in mental health resources the way you invest in marketing campaigns. Teach officials to call the game like everybody belongs to somebody who loves them. Hold everyone to it. That is how a sport grows without losing its soul. And to you, watching at home, if any part of this hits close, and I know it does for more people than will say it out loud, let it change the way you move tomorrow. Text the friend you've been meaning to check on. Tell your kid that being excellent and being okay aren't the same thing, and that both matter. Remind yourself that stepping away is not weakness. Sometimes it's the strongest sentence a person can make. I'm going to leave you with a simple thought. The game is a beautiful thing. It belongs to all of us when the lights are bright and when the gym is empty, but the people who play it do not belong to us. We borrow their magic for a couple of hours, then we give them back to their lives. Caitlin Clark gave us months of magic in a row. Now she's taking back her life for a while. That is her right. Our role is to clap, to wait, to hope, and to be ready to cheer again when the time is right. Drop a message of support for Caitlin in the comments tonight. Keep it respectful. Share a favorite play, a moment you'll never forget, a picture from the first time you brought your kid to see her. If you've got a theory, keep it kind and keep it to yourself. If you've got a prayer, send it. If you've got a ticket, use it. Come out and lift the team that's still battling because they need you most right now. I'll be here with you through it all. Game nights, updates, the long quiet in between. When there's real news, we'll talk about it. Until then, we'll talk basketball, we'll talk character, we'll talk about what makes this sport worth loving in the first place, and we'll keep that seat warm because that's what families do. Take care of each other tonight, take care of yourself, and Caitlin, wherever you are, take all the time you need. We'll be right here when you're ready. In the mornings after the announcement, the gym sounds different. It's quieter, but not hollow. Trainers roll out the bands and mats, sneakers whisper across the baseline. You can hear the soft thud of a medicine ball and the rhythm of a jump rope cutting air. Lexi shows up early with a tablet, rewinding a single action again and again, noting foot placement, timing, the half second a screen arrives late. Sophie walks in with that chin-up posture, claps twice, and the room sharpens. This is where the fever get practical. They'll lean on elbow touches for Aaliyah, let her read cutters on split action, and yank defenders out of the paint with guard-to-guard exchanges. They'll spam drag screens in early offense to create downhill lanes, high decoy movement on the weak side to buy a shooter a breath of daylight, and run a ghost screen now and then just to mess with the coverage. The set calls change, but the principle doesn't. Share the ball, guard your yard, finish possessions. Expect more horns to start a quarter. Double high screens, a flare to the wing, then a slip to punish switches. Expect Spain pick-and-roll wrinkles, with a back screen on the roller that forces a choice. Help and give up a corner three, or stay home and watch a layup drop. Expect Lexi as a secondary handler, calling her own number and living with the result. Not hero ball, grown-up ball, the kind that respects the clock and trusts the pass. But basketball isn't just schemes, it's people. In the mailroom, envelopes pile up. Handwritten notes from kids who spell Caitlin 3 different ways and draw hearts around the number 22. A high school coach sends a team photo with a short line. "We learned to box out watching you." A mom writes that her daughter finally asked to join the rec league because she saw a player smile after missing and then make the next one. That's currency you can't print. Sophie and Lexi keep showing up at community events because that's what pros do when the spotlight feels heavy. They pass it to the next generation. They laugh, they teach a proper jump stop, they tell a nervous kid that nobody's shot is broken. It's just in progress, and after the clinic ends, they jog one more lap with the last 2 stragglers because those kids will remember it forever. That's old school. That's how the game was handed down to us, and it's how we should hand it on. We've seen great players pause before. Different eras, different reasons, same truth. Stepping away doesn't erase what you've built. It protects the part of you that built it. When they return, they usually bring something with them. A calmer pulse, a clearer eye, a new angle on the same rim. The shot isn't just a shot anymore, it's a promise kept. If that day comes for Caitlin, the league will feel it like the first warm day after a long winter. Until then, keep the rituals, wear the jersey, clap on defense in your living room, coach your kids to make the extra pass, tip your hat to the other team's best player when she cooks, then cheer louder for your own. Send the message that matters most right now. We're not going anywhere. Not as spectators of drama, but as stewards of a game we love and a person we respect. So, let's do this together. In the comments, drop the moment that made you a believer. Maybe it was a logo 3, a no-look dime, or that time she sprinted back for a chase-down block when the play looked dead. Share a word for Sophie and Lexi too. Leaders don't ask for applause, but they've earned it. And if you're in the building next game, be the kind of crowd that lifts, not leans. That's the standard. That's how a family behaves when one seat is temporarily empty. We'll keep the light on, we'll keep the seat warm, we'll keep the ball moving. And when it's time, whenever that is, we'll be ready to stand. Not because we're owed anything, but because gratitude stands on its own. Until then, hold fast to the things that last. Respect, patience, hard work, and hope. Those have carried this sport through every era. They'll carry us now